Imagine the scene. Here comes Jesus, Peter, James, and John coming down off of Mount Tabor after they just witnessed the transfiguration. And here is ahead of them, they see this crowd. And they recognize some of the disciples in the crowd, but they sense that something is a little bit amiss. So as they approach, this man comes up to Jesus and kneels before him and says, "Lord, take pity on my son. I brought him to your disciples and they couldn't cure him." And so Jesus says, "Bring the boy to me," dispatches the demon and cures the boy. So the disciples say, "What happened?" Jesus' response was, "Oh, faithless and perverse generation, how long will I endure you?" Pretty surprising response, the way that he's reacting here. I sense a bit of frustration. How much he longs for us to have that faith that can actually move mountains, that can cure hard cases, that can perform miracles. So after all of this, the disciples go up to him in private because they want to know what happened. Why? Why couldn't we do it? You've taught us, we've been trying to do it. And he says, you need faith. You lack faith. Faith the size of a mustard seed. The mustard seed is teeny. And he says that kind of faith can move mountains. What would it be like to have that kind of faith? To ask big, to let God be generous, let God respond with the generosity, the love he wants to pour out upon us. Yet sometimes when we ask, there can be different responses from God. One response can be yes, and the grace is granted. We receive what we were asking for. Two can be, wait, it's not time yet. We need to wait a little bit longer, and we need to persevere in our prayer until that moment. Third response is, I have something better for you. Can we trust in God? Can we trust in his responses? I remember Pope John Paul I, in one of his few audiences, actually spoke about 3 truths about God. As we ask God for these graces, we need to remember, first of all, that God is all-loving. God doesn't toy with us. God loves us. That's all he does, is love us. Number 2, God is all-powerful. There is nothing that is impossible, nothing that is too great. And number 3, God is faithful. He doesn't forget, he doesn't get distracted, he doesn't fall asleep on us. God is always faithful. I add one more, not to improve on the Pope, but because it helps me, saying God is all-knowing. He knows what we're going through and he's not indifferent to it. So the key here is to ask. Ask with this great faith. Let God pour out his love into our lives.